So in the previous class, I told you about inbuilt functions and I told you what exactly a function means. So now in this class, we are going to talk about some of the very useful inbuilt functions that you will use. Like once you'll start writing the queries based on group by, having joins, window functions and other things. At that point of time, these inbuilt functions play a very important role because you cannot take out everything by yourself. You need functions for your help so that you can solve a problem in an easy way. So now we have different kind of functions. So there are like aggregate functions. There are string functions. You have like date and time functions. After this, you have conversion functions, mathematical functions, and we have other functions as well, but those functions are basically a part of a complete topic. So that topic we'll see afterwards. So other functions that are there that are known as window functions and case when functions. So that we'll teach, like we'll learn afterwards. Currently, our agenda is to work on these five types of functions. So now in these five types of functions, there are many other functions as well, but we are not going to talk about each one of them. We are going to talk about the functions that are important for us to solve the queries and most specific ones because there are multiple n number of functions and we cannot talk about each and every functions here. So now let's talk about our aggregate functions. So aggregate functions I have already told in the last class. These are sum, max, minimum, average, and your count. So these are the functions that I have already told in the previous class, but I will give you one example of all of them. So let's see on which database we have to work today. So I will try to work on our ecom database. So I will write use ecom database and I will try to run it. So it will show that command completed successfully. Now in this ecom database, we have a table which is customers. We'll try to run that thing. Now, if I want to count, for example, if I want to count total number of customers, if I want to find total number of customers, then tell me which function we will use. If we want to find total number of customers, which aggregate function we will use? So we will use count function. So we'll write select count of. Now inside count, which thing I will use? Whether I will use star or I will use count customer ID. Which thing is correct? So people are saying customer ID is correct, and see, it depends. It depends on different use cases that which one is correct. See, I will tell you on what things it depends. So if our customer ID, if our customer ID has has not null values, which means there is no null value in my customer ID. Customer ID, no null values. At that scenario, both count star and count customer ID will work and will give same result. But if in any case customer ID column is not a primary key, which means it can have null values also. So in that scenario, if we will use select count star, it will count, it will count null values also, use as well. So it will count null values as well. So along with the values which are not null, it will count null values as well. So in this kind of scenario, we will try to use count customer ID. And there is one more thing. So now, for example, this customer ID is not a primary key. For example, this customer ID is not a primary key, and 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 values can be. So I will give you a scenario. So suppose that this customer ID is not a primary key. It does not have any null value. So it does not have any null value. Yeah, we have discussed. Please see the video as well. So now if customer ID is not a primary key and it does not have null values, but it can have duplicate values. So at that point of time, how you will take out the number of customers that are there in the table? How? If I want you to tell me how many customers are there in this table, then which thing will help you in this scenario? See, if values are duplicated, if there are duplicate values in customer ID column, then you have to use something like this: select count, and inside count you will write distinct, and then you will write customer ID from customers table. So this will be the case if you have duplicate values in the customer ID column, and you have you don't have null values, you don't have installed the primary key in the column, but it can have duplicate values. So the correct procedure, whenever somebody wants you to count the number of people or count the number of orders or any kind of thing, please try to use distinct as well. Because if you will not use distinct, you will be end up with counting duplicate values, because in the tables that you are using in companies, there are lot of duplicate values. There are lot of duplicate values. Or when there are lot of duplicate values, then you end up with getting one customer 2 or 3 times and your count will be destroyed. Now, there is a term that is known as granularity. How many of you know about granularity? What is granularity? How many of you know about this term? So I will tell you what this granularity means. So suppose there is an order table in which there is a column order ID and there is a column amount, which means amount that is associated with that order ID. Now there is one more table in which there is order ID, item ID, and amount. So now if I want to join these things, if I want to join these things, just remove the join thing. If I want, if I want to make these two tables on a same level, if I want to make these two tables on a same level. What I mean by level is, see, in this table, there is only two columns, order ID and amount, which means for a particular item, what is the total amount associated with it? For example, if I have ordered something, like if I have ordered something on Amazon, and in that order there are two shoes and one iPhone. So at that point of time, if data is on order ID and amount level, then what it will show is, it will show me the order ID irrespective of what item cost what, it will give me the total amount of all the items. But in this scenario, is it the same? No, it is not same, because order ID is there and item ID is also there. Now, so now in this scenario, what will be the result is, suppose there is a order one which has three things: iPhone, tablet, and MacBook. And this cost around 100, 50, and 30. So now tell me, in this scenario, for order ID 1, there will be 3 rows. Yes or no? But in this scenario, how many rows will be there? 1. Which this thing that I am explaining you now is known as granularity. On what level data is distributed in the tables. So whenever you are doing, so now for example, in this table, if we want to count number of orders. So now in this table, this one, if I want to count number of orders. So if I will do a select, if I will do a select count order ID, will it give me the correct result? No, it will not give me the correct result, because this is a item level table. This is not an order level table. This is an order item level table, which means we have to use something known as count distinct order ID. Is this clear to all of you till here? See, this is something known as granularity. How data is distributed in the table, on what level data is distributed in the table. And it is very important concept. So when you will go to a company or you will work for someone, they will ask you, like, tell me the granularity of your data, how granular your data is. So at that point of time, while doing any modification, any aggregation, you have to take care of it. Is this clear to all of you? Okay. So Saithi, this granularity is basically, suppose we have two tables. In one table, there is a order ID and a amount thing. So in this table, the order ID will be 1 and amount will be 180. And we will have only one row of data, which means we have only one row of data. But now in the second table, we have order ID, item ID, and amount. So in this case, we have for order ID 1, we have what iPhone also, tablet also, or MacBook also. So in the single order, we have byte three things. So now we have three rows here. Till now it's clear. Then I will move forward. Till now. Now, after this, if I want to count the number of orders, if I want to count the number of orders, if I use count order ID here and count order ID here. Tell me, in this, what will be the value of count order ID? 1. In this, what will be the value of count order ID? Tell me, Saithi, what will be the value in this? 3. Is this correct? No, because this table is on a item order level and this table is only on order level. So for this table, we have to keep in mind that we have to use count distinct order ID to get correct order details, like how many orders are there. So this is something known as granularity of table. Did you got it? Yeah, it is same order only. See, whenever you do a order on Amazon, so using distinct keyword is not granularity. Granularity is basically on what level data is distributed in the table. So this in this table, data is distributed on order level only. Like whether if a order has 5 to 6 items in it, we will only show the total amount associated with that order. But now the people want more granular data, like what a person has ordered at what amount. So this is a item order level table. So this item order level and this order amount level is basically the granularity. Using distinct keyword will help you to get correct numbers. If we want to get how many orders are there or how many customers are there. You cannot say granularity is showing orders in more detailed way. Granularity is not a term which is associated to order, customer, or anything. Granularity is SQL term, which means on what level data is distributed in the table, like how table is filled, in what levels table is filled. That is known as granularity. Granularity is something termed as condition. It's not a condition. How many of you are able to get what is granularity? How many of you are clear with granularity concept? The people who are not clear with the granularity concept can ping me on WhatsApp and I will tell you, like, see, watch this video again, you will get it. Now, after this, if we talk about the functions, now come on the point functions. So now same, sum is also a function, which means we have to just write select sum, and sum is basically used for mathematical value or integer values. So I will tell you one more thing. So if whenever you are using sum, max, sum and average, whenever you are using sum, comma average, in this scenario, both sum and average will only work on integer values. Tell me, in this complete table, do we have at any place, do we have any integer value? I have a question from you people. If I want, see, for example, if you want to insert data in the table, for example, if you want to insert data in the table and the column is customer ID, what data type you will use to enter the value of customer ID? What will be the preferable data type that you will use for entering the values of customer ID? See, all people who have given me the answer int are wrong. Why you are wrong? Because tell me, do you have to do any calculation with the customer ID? Do you have to multiply or add the values in the customer ID? Tell me. No, you don't have to do it. So that's why the preferable data type for customer ID will be varchar. You can store it in the customer ID in the integer format also. So now after this, we'll talk about maximum and minimum. So see, many of you have this thing in mind that maximum and minimum, but what is the use of calculations of customer ID? The same thing I am telling. There is no use of calculations in customer ID. That's why we'll store it in varchar format, not integer format. So now I will tell you about max and min. So for example, if I have written select max max of customer ID from my customers table, we are getting 57605. Now we'll change the scenario a bit, because this max is also a very important concept. People don't know about it. If I write select maximum of state from customers table, if I have written something like this, will I get the output? We will get the output. So maximum and minimum functions we can use on varchar also. If we are using it on varchar, it will give me the maximum value based on alphabetical order. If I will use it on integer, then it will give me the values based on mathematical order. And now if I will use it on date values, then also it will give me the value. If I will use max date, then it will give me the maximum value in the date column. And if I'll use min of date, then it will give me the minimum value in the date column. Maturi Krishna is asking me what will happen if I stored the customer ID in the int format. Nothing will happen. Nothing will happen. You can store a customer ID in the integer format. But why I'm saying it to you that store it in a varchar format, because your customer ID can be a little value, a customer ID can be a larger value. So at that point of time, if you will use a int data type, it will cost you more memory as compared to varchar, which is a dynamic memory allocator. Which means if you are entering a value 120, it will make a storage of 120. And if you are entering a value of 5 million, that it will make a storage of 5 million. So that's the answer. If you want to make it into your customer ID in integer, you can make it. It will not create a difference. But making it in varchar format is more good, because you don't have to do any calculations with it. See, Maturi Krishna, you are asking now in this situation how it will go for customer ID for max. See, customer ID column in our table is directly stored in the format, in the int format. So when I imported this table on SQL server, at that point of time, by default, this customer ID column has got a integer place. That's why you are getting maximum value of it. So in our customers table, customer ID is not in varchar format. It is in integer format, because when I am loading the data set at that point of time, it was in integer format. But if I have to create a table and I have to create a customer ID column, I will not make it in the int format. I will do it in the varchar. Is this clear to all of you? Okay. So now we'll talk about some string functions, some famous string functions. So now if I'm writing select len, and inside it, if I am writing customer ID, from customers table, or let's make it country. So this length function will give me total number of characters in that country column. So for example, if I want to show you the country column along with the result, I will write country, comma, length of country for from customers. So United States has 13 characters, Australia has 19 characters. So this will give you characters along with it. Number of characters. Is this clear to all of you? Okay. Now we'll talk about a function which is known as concat, concat ws. No, we cannot use we cannot use count for this. See, count function works on a complete column level. All the values in the column will get added. But length function works on a row level. So each and every row value is getting counted. Okay. So now we'll talk about concat and concat ws. So see, if I'm writing select concat and I'm writing country, comma, I am writing a space, comma, postal code, or I can say date entered. From customers table. Let's see what will happen. See, along with the country column, the state column is also added. So concat is used for adding two or more than two strings. So if I want to add one more string, I can use comma and I can write that string. So suppose I want to add at the rate. So let's see what will happen. So concat is used for addition of strings. Now what is concat ws? So if I have written concat ws and in concat how to give column name for the concatenated column. See, every point of time if you are using a function and you are creating a value on your own, you have to write as new column or any name that you want to give. Yeah, you can add any text even if it is not in the table fields. You can also add any text that you want. So now what is concat ws? So concat ws is same like concat but has a different use case. So in concat ws, the first of all we have to give a separator. So I have written at the rate here. Now you can use as number of strings you want. If I write a comma b comma c, then what will happen? I will show you what will happen. After all the values at the rate will get added in the string. So this is known as concat ws. So in concat ws, first we have to give the separator, like what we want to add in between of the strings, and then the strings that we want to add. Till here everybody is clear? Sathi is asking what does ws means. Ws means with separator. The meaning of ws is concat with separator. So she's asking, does concat only works on strings? So let's check concat 2 comma 3. It's giving me 23. So now this is a conditional question. See, in many of the servers, integer values are also concatenated, and in many of the servers, they are not concatenated. So my thing to tell you is, if at any point of time you want to add integer values with the help of concat, see, first of all, try to use concat only for string values. But if at any case you have a requirement and you want to use concat for the integer values, then there is something known as cast that comes into the picture. So I will tell you what is cast. So cast is basically used for converting the data type. So suppose I have written cast and I have written one as varchar. If I have written select cast one as varchar. So tell me right now this one is in which format, which data type? Currently this one is at which data type? Int. As soon as I have used cast function and I have rewriting here one as varchar one, which means this varchar can store one value. So now if we'll do it like this, so now at this condition, this one is converted into a varchar. So now if I want to concat something like this, some integer values, if I want to concat integer values, first I will change my integer values into varchar. First, I will change my integer values into varchar. So I will write cast 2 as varchar 1. So now if I will do this, I have to use one more bracket. So now this value is completely correct. Now at the end, if you want to again change this value to a number. So right now when you have used concat and you have changed the data types of both these 1 and 2 into the string, then this 1, 2 is a string value. Correct? Yes or no? This 1, 2 is a string value. If I'm doing something like this 1, 2 is a string value. But now, for example, if I want to change this string value to an integer in the last, I am writing cast again, and I will write as int. Now this value is a integer value. Give me a minute, I'm getting a call. Yeah. So Anjali is asking me, cast is used to change the data type. See, cast is not used to change the data type. See, you can say cast is used to change data. See, this is not the correct. It is a correct statement that you are saying, but it has some other value as well. So it has some other side as well. So cast is used to change the data type only in the queries. If you are using a cast function in the query, then in the query only that function is changed to a different data type. or that value is changed to a different data type. But in the real table, that value will be in same data type that it is. Is this clear, Anjali? And one more thing I want to tell you. See, suppose if I have written select cast ABC as integer, this will work, yes or no? This will work, yes or no? No, because ABC cannot be changed in an integer value. It is not possible. So cast will only work if there is a possibility of changing it into a different integer. Suppose I am writing a date here, 2023 0101, and I want to change this date into a timestamp value. So currently this date is in which format? Currently this date is in which format? Only date data type. If I want to change it into a timestamp, see, it will give me a value like this. But if I want to change it, if I want to change a timestamp value, so for example, let me take a value, let me use a function which is known as current timestamp. So basically, this current timestamp, if I first I will show you what this current timestamp means. So if I'm writing select current timestamp and let's run it, see this current timestamp will always give you the current value, the exact value that is right now, which is 8 p.m. Like in this my machine, it's showing wrong because my machine date time is different right now. So in my machine, the timing is 8 p.m. now. That's why it's showing me 8 p.m. But if in your machine the timing is correct, you will see the correct time, which is right now. So suppose if I want to change my timestamp value into a date value, is it possible? Tell me, is this thing possible? This is possible. But if you have a date value, can you change it into a timestamp? Tell me. See, if you in the date value, there is no time, nothing. How we can change it into a timestamp? So please be sure if you are using cast function, you have to be specific that when you are using it, you have to be very clear in mind that this thing can be changed so that I am changing it. Is this thing clear to all of you? Okay. Now let's talk about our substring function. Substring function and but if we use concat without typecasting, it will still work, right? See, the answer is depending on different other servers. In some servers it will work, but in some servers it will not work because concat is a function which is typically used with string values only. So in Microsoft SQL Server, it is working. Maybe in any other server, it will not work. So if you are using concat or anything, see what is the use of adding 1 and 2 in a line? Is there any use of adding two numbers in a line like 1, 2? 1 and 2 is equal to 3 if we are talking about numbers. So why will do operation like it if in which we are adding two integers like 1, 2? But if at any case, if it is the requirement and you have to do it, then I will suggest you first cast them to a string data type, which is varchar, and then use a concat function. And see, I'm very happy, Saiti, that you are asking this much questions. I'm really very happy because after like 30, 40 classes in last 4 to 5 months, I am seeing a person who is asking me enough amount of questions, and each and every question is a legit question. So that's why I tell people that joining a live class is always better instead of going with the recordings. So now let's talk about substring. So as you all know, if I am writing Durgesh, what is Durgesh? So Durgesh is a type of a string. But if I want to take out only URG from Durgesh, what is this URG? If I am talking about this URG in comparison with Durgesh, then URG is a subpart of a string. That's why it's known as substring. So if Durgesh is the string and I want to get URG, then URG is a substring. Is this clear what is substring? Now how to use substring function? Suppose if I have written select substring and inside substring uh, I am writing Durgesh Yadav. So first of all, I will tell you substring takes total 3 parameters. First parameter is the string value. Second parameter is from where we have to start. Like the sub part that we want from the string, from where we have to start finding that sub part. So suppose I am starting from 1. Now, the third thing that comes into the picture is how many occurrences we want from that subpart. So if I'm writing 5, it means that from the point 1, from the index 1, we have to take total 5 occurrences. So it will give me, oh, what happened? It will give me a value like this. Is this clear to all of you? Now, if I have written 4 comma 5, then tell me what will be the answer here. So now everyone who has given me the answer is wrong. Why you are wrong? So tell me what is the starting point? The starting point is 4, which is G. And how many occurrences we want from G is 5. So G, E, S, H and space. So answer is G, E, S, H and space. Why we are not able to see the space? Because space is transparent. But if you want to check whether it has 4 characters or 5 characters, then you can use a length here function. And I can assure you that you will get 5 here. Not why it's giving you 4. Okay, basically, I will tell you. So basically, first we have used substring function. So it's converting it into in the output, it's converting it into the 4 character thing. That's why when I'm using length function outside, it's giving me only 4. But for example, if we are writing 4 comma 6, then you will see that you are getting space also. So now if you will use a length function outside, it will give you 6 as a value, not 5. It will count space as well. Is this thing clear to all of you? So now, for example, if I have written 1 here and I am writing here length of Durgesh Yadav. If I'm writing something like this, what will be the output? The output will be complete name. So basically, you can also read this thing as you can also read the above question in a way. Select substring, your name Durgesh Yadav, comma 1, comma what is the length of Durgesh Yadav? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. So this question is something like this. So you are counting from 1 to 13. Sorry, not from 1 to 13, from 1 and then 13 occurrences. Now, for example, if I am changing this thing to 5? Abhinash, we will come on this point and you will get all these things dynamically. This is basic of substring. The next step that is coming now is advanced of substring. So now tell me what will be the output. Correct. So this again, this is something known as 5 to 13. So understand, if you have a value which is larger here, so suppose if you are starting from 5 and it is telling you take 13 occurrences. If you are starting from 5, are there 13 occurrences? Yes or no? If you are starting from 5, there are no 13 occurrences. So the occurrences that are there, only those will be the part of it. It will not consider 13 because we don't have 13 from 5. Now, coming on to the second thing, which is known as char index. And char index and SQL are, char index and substring are basically work hand in hand. Mansi is asking, can we use a separator to separate the string? Mansi, just wait for 5 minutes and you don't have to use any separator. So suppose if I'm using select char index, what is char index? So char index is a function which tells us the index of a letter. So suppose I want to search for a space. I want to search for a space in my name Durgesh Yadav. So first thing in the char index is the thing that you want to search, and second is from where you want to search. So if I execute it, what will be the output? What is the index of space? The output will be 8. So now I am going to give you a question. So you are seeing the email here. You are seeing email of all the people here. I want you to give me only the username of all the people. I want only the username of all the people. So for example, in this, the username will be James.Smith. In the second, the username will be Robert Downey. So everything before at the rate I want. How you will do it with the help of substring and char index. So firstly, I will tell you. I will write select and I will use substring. Now, I know that I am doing this operation on my email column. Now, you know that username will always start from the starting alphabet only. So starting will be from 1 only. But, but ending will be at what position? So ending will be at position which is before at the rate. Ending will be always at position which is before at the rate. So if anyhow I get the index of at the rate and I subtract minus from 1 from it, will I get my result? The answer is yes. I will use a char index here and I will try to search for at the rate in my email string. So once I will get the index of at the rate in my email string, I will tell, because if I get the index of at the rate, then the value will be from j to at the rate also. So I will do a -1 here and I will write from customers and I will get username of all the people. Is this thing clear to all of you? Now you have to tell me, and now it's a medium level question. Now you have to tell me how to find only the domain names. how to find only the domain names. So basically you have to find only gmail.com, gmail.com, gmail.com. And see, in this, you have to take out like gmail.com from this. From all the strings, you have to take gmail.com. So Kabila, and I'm again explaining you. So we are going to do a substring in my email column. We are starting from 1. Now we know that we want everything before at the rate. So if anybody tells me the index of the at the rate, which is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. So in this string, the index of email is at 13th position. So 13 minus 1 is 12, which is the index of H. So now we'll start from 1 and we'll get name still James Smith only. Tell me this thing. How many of you can do this thing? Correct. What we have to do is we have to write select substring. We have to use email column because we are doing modification on it. But now we have to start from what? We have to start from after at the rate. So first we'll find the starting point. So starting find point we'll find with the help of char index. But we'll find the index of at the rate in my email column. And after getting the index of at the rate in my email column, I will add +1 because I want to start after the at the rate. And then for getting all the last values, I can use length of my email as explained in the above example. And now from customers. See, in this example, we have to start after at the rate. So if you want to start after at the rate, first we have to find the index of at the rate. Then we have to add 1 in it because we have to start after it. Then for getting all the last values, so we don't have any number in our mind. Like how many numbers can be there in for the last values. So what we are doing is we are writing length of email because length of email is always greater than the string value. If we are starting it from second place onwards. So that's why we are doing this. Is this clear to all of you? See, Sethu, we are using length of email here because see, if we are starting from at the rate, after at the rate, then any person, for example, if any person is there, he can have a domain gmail.com also. He can have a email hotmail.com also. It can have any email. So at that point of time, you don't know what is the length of that email. So what you will do is, you know that we are starting from our index, which is like at 5th or 6th position. And if I am giving from 6th position, how many occurrences I want. So if I use length of email here, the length of email value will be always greater than the value of the string from where we are starting. So that's why we are using length of email here. To get a broader spectrum, like, yeah, we will have values less than length of email only. So we are getting all the last values. Is this clear to all of you? Now we'll talk about, see, there are multiple other functions as well, and we cannot cover all the functions here. But some of the important ones I'm covering. So reverse. If you want to reverse something, you can use reverse function. So if you'll pass anything in the reverse function, it will give you a reversed value. Now we'll talk about two functions, which is select, date add. So what is date add function? So suppose we have a date 2023 0101. So in DATEADD function, first we have to use the interval. So what is the thing that you want to add? So suppose if I want to use, if I want to add day, month, year, or anything, I will write it here. So I want to add day. Now after writing the interval, which thing you want to add, I have to write how much I want to add. So suppose I am writing -8 and from this date. So first value is interval, second value is what is the amount you want to add or subtract, and from what value. So if we subtract 8 days from this value, we'll be ending up with getting 8 days less from the date we have opted for. Is this clear to all of you? I will give you an entire PDF in our folder and drive of SQL, in which all the inbuilt functions will be covered. And I will give you an additional video on my date function video. And I will urge all of you to see that date function video. It is very important for all of you. That's all for the class today.